Hello, my friends. Good evening. My apologies for my absence. It's been a very busy month. Those of you who have been following me and working with me know that this has been probably my busiest month since I've been doing the kind of work I've been doing. So I want to talk to you about a lot of things, but we are going to do it in the context of talking about a very powerful, very beloved deity in India whose name is Narasimha. And that loosely translates as man-lion. And there's a lot of interesting things in this mythology that I want to share with you. And there's also some indications that this deity has been worshipped since at least Ice Age times as far away as Europe. So we'll talk about that. But what I want to share with you is what the soul does for us when we get overwhelmed with our need for achieving something in this world, which I firmly believe in, by the way. So I'm not here to say you shouldn't achieve anything. It has to do with how we interface with the way people view us and our desire to be viewed by other people. So it has a lot to do with our insecurities. I'm not going to use the word ego because ego is, just self. So there's nothing wrong with having a healthy sense of self. Nothing at all wrong with that. In fact, this deity, man-lion, lions are connected to the idea of somebody who has a lot of self confidence. So this deity is fighting to give you self-confidence. So we're not talking about healthy self-confidence. We're talking about what do you do when the individual has this need to be viewed by other people, your reputation, what it is that you want to accomplish in life. And we're going to talk about how difficult it is to struggle against the views and the opinions of society and family and friends at large. And that battle that we have with ourselves. Because, this is, everything I talk about is the most important when I'm talking about it. But this is extremely important, especially nowadays. Those of you who follow me know that what I teach is that the most important thing that you can accomplish is having your own happiness in this world. To accomplish your own happiness, and whatever that is for you. To be happy in your own skin, to be living your life 100% for your own personal fulfillment. And that we are continuously challenged in making decisions between what it is our soul wants us to do, which will bring us happiness and joy, as well as allow us to be completely able to help others and give them what they need, to give back to the universe, to follow our true path, what I call our soul desire. You can call it your destiny, you can call it your orlog. For those of you who follow monotheism, you can call it God's will. It's all the same. And you're either doing one of two things. You are either following 100% or working towards following 100% towards what your soul wants you to do, or you are doing what you believe is safe, or what you think other people want, or what you think you're supposed to do. And one of the ways that you know that you're having this struggle is when somebody asks you, what is it that you want? If your response is, I don't know, that is a sure sign that you are in conflict. Now, Lots of times when I ask people, what is it that you want? They'll say, oh, I want to be rich, or oh, I want to be successful. And they come up with, I believe that there are three places we can live. We can live in the world of other people's desires, whether that's religion, society, family, friends. A lot of us live there. We can live in the fantasy realm of our soul, which says, listen, I'm only here for my own spiritual happiness and fulfillment, and I only do those things which bring me the greatest joy, which is where I want to live and which is where I teach people to live. And then there's this middle ground, compromise world, I call it. And this is where people go, and when we start talking about living in that realm of being in your soul, following what your soul wants to do, and I ask, what is it that you want to do? A lot of times people will tell me, compromise world. I want to be famous, I want to be successful, I want to have money. If I can have money, then I can give and support my family, and then I can go do what I want. And so lots of times people will say, well, I would love to go do that other thing that my soul wants to do, but I can't afford it. So I need to work at this job and do the bunch of crap I can't stand. And then I can have the money to go do what I want. And the problem is that never happens. That time never comes. We have it backwards. The way this universe functions is that you have your soul desire. Your soul desire will tell you what to do to be successful, what to do to bring you complete happiness, what to do to be prosperous and have all the money that you need. Because your soul path, your destiny, your dharma, your orlog, whatever word you want to use for it, that which you have been born to do in this lifetime that you have, that has within it everything that you need. And it is if you want to use, technical computer jargon or whatever, it's like a program that once you activate it, it goes out in the universe to make sure you have everything that you need. And so you can't wait until you have the money to go do what you want. You have to go do what you want first. Not what other people want, not what the world wants, not what society, religion, not what any family, not what your ego thinks that you should be. Those things, once you go in that direction, you have this dormant program of prosperity and success that gets turned off. It goes, it stops working. And the universe, see, again, here's a secret about the universe. The universe believes that you are omnipotent God. The universe worships you. So when you are confused and you don't know what you want, and you go after things that other people want, you try to do things to be safe, the universe goes, I don't understand what you're doing. So it doesn't give you anything because it doesn't understand. It doesn't know that you don't know what you're doing. It thinks you know what you're doing all the time. And it thinks that you know that you're going after your soul. So when you go after something other than your soul desire, the universe goes, well, we're supposed to help that person when they go after what it is they truly want, what really brings them happiness. They're not doing that. They must know what they're doing, so let's just hold off. And the universe doesn't provide you with the resources that you need. And so people stay in that, and so they try harder to please people, or they try harder to work at some job they can't stand. And the universe is still going, we've got this unlimited amount of money and resources and love and luck and happiness, and but if you don't need it, we won't give it to you. So the universe is waiting for you to follow your true path. When you follow your true soul desire, your joy, the universe goes, oh, they're doing that thing they said they wanted to do. Let's give them the house, the money, let's give them everything that they need, because the universe knows where you're supposed to go. So it gets confused when you don't. But the truth is that you always know, deep down into your soul, you always know what it is you truly want, always. And so my job when I work with people on this is I ask you questions because I don't know what it is that you're supposed to do. Only you know that. Nobody can tell you that. I can do things by look at your Vedic astrological chart and I can see a lot of things that will give you success and help you along the way. Maybe I can point you in a direction, but only you know exactly what it is that you decided to do before you incarnated. Only you know that. And so when people work with me, I ask them questions and I try and, by asking questions, then I can hear where the conflict is. And if I know that you're lying to yourself or you're in conflict with yourself, I'm very good at being able to pick that out. Sometimes I'm too good because sometimes people aren't ready. They're just, they need to ease into the deep end, toes first. And here I am pushing them off the, the high dive, straight into the deep end because I want to help you get what you want. And it's sometimes I get a little impatient for you because I'm impatient for myself. I want absolutely everything. I'm starting to get it. I'm getting real close to having absolutely everything that I want. And I tell you, it's really nice. And so I'm sharing with you not because this is something written down in some book somewhere. I get, people ask sometimes the stupidest questions. On videos that they will ask, whatever it is I'm talking about, they'll say, I really like what you're saying, but do you have any evidence to back up? I'm like, what do you mean evidence? What kind of evidence do you need other than I proved it to myself? I can show you exactly how I did it, and I help other people do it. That's the proof. But people want me to give them some book. Oh, it's written down in some book somewhere. People think that, you take other people's word for things. That's what the Bible is. Christians do that. They take out the Bible and they say, well, in the book of Genesis, blah, 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 or in the book of Matthew, Jesus says, and it's just like, so you don't have an opinion of your own? You don't have any experience of your own? You have to take somebody else's word for everything? That's not evidence. Some people won't believe it until somebody else tells them, well, it's written in a book. Hey, I'll write it in a book if you want. I have. Anyway. So we're going to talk about the myth of the man-lion, and I'm going to talk to you about, was this deity worshipped 40,000 years ago? So we're going to get to that, and of course I will take your questions. We'll see how far we get into this. This is a pretty deep myth, and I'll tell you first why I'm doing it. I am creating a certification program for Vedic astrologers. And so the level 2 Vedic astrology certification is for people who are wanting to work underneath me with my name and work through my website, all that kind of stuff. And so in the second phase, which I'm still putting together, I'm talking about the different avatars of Vishnu, which are connected to each one of the planets. And when I do a chart, what I do is, one of the things I do is I find out what the planet is that wants to help guide you toward your highest path, your soul desire. And so by worshiping that planet and deities associated with that planet, it will bring to your awareness ways that you are sabotaging yourself from having what you truly want. And so what I'm teaching people to do is to give rituals and mantras connected to the 9 avatars of Vishnu. And it is said in Vedic Hinduism, if you want to find one of the ways, there's many ways to do it, but one of the ways, the default method, the easy way to go is worship the Vishnu avatar of the planet that's guiding you towards your dharma, your orlog, your soul desire, so that you can become conscious of it. So I'm giving people the mantras for each of the planets, and I'm going into depth explaining what it all means so that you can explain it to your clients. I really love the myth of Narasimha, and I was getting ready to do a video for that, and I thought I would use that as a subject for today. So we won't go into all of the avatars. If you want to do that, you can get certified and you can learn all that. But I think everybody can learn from Narasimha. And Narasimha, by the way, is the avatar of Mars, the warrior planet. So that's why he's so fierce in this one. But he's so protective. I'll before I go into the questions, I'll tell you that what Narasimha does is he defends us like crazy, aggressively defends us from the self-criticism we have towards our deepest desires, as well as if you live in a scenario where people are criticizing you, where people's opinions, where family opinions, religious opinions are criticizing you for going after what you want. You know, if you live in a household where, you know, if you try and be yourself and go after what you want, you get criticized and harassed and sometimes abused in all kinds of horrible ways. Narasimha is a deity that he seeks to destroy that. So he's a very, very powerful deity, and he is extremely fierce, and he protects. You know, when we can't protect ourselves, when we feel too weak to be able to protect ourselves from the opinions and the criticism of others, Narasimha is a deity that can be worshipped in order to overcome that. So, all right, so there's that. So we'll get into that myth in a little bit. I'll take a little bit of a break here, and you can see all of the things that we offer, and then in about 2 minutes I'll come back and I'll start answering some questions. So be right back. Okay, so if you're new to my channel, here's what I need from you to do. I need you to ask me a question. The way that you do that, and this is for the live Q&A, this is not after it's been recorded, so if you're watching this after it's been archived, you don't need to do this. You can just ask a question in the comments normally. But if you're watching this Q&A live, and if you're new to my channel, it looks like we got some new people, I need you to put question so that I can see you're asking me a question. People on these Q&As want to come on and dump their crap. I already just blocked somebody. You know, was just wasting time saying whatever. Yeah, look, here's what I want to do. I want to answer people's questions. That's what this is. This is a Q&A. So that's the best way to deal with me. If you have opinions, you want to talk to each other, it's great, but it gets in the way because, as you see, I got to scroll through all that nonsense before I get to an actual question. So that's the best way to work with me. Ask me a question. If I find you abusive, or if I find you in any way, you know, destructive, I'll just simply block you off the channel. So, all right. So let's get to the questions. I've got here. Let me see. So here I am again. Let's get to the question. All right. So, Swift Data, you're obviously new to my channel. Does race matter? No. I get angry with that question for obvious reasons. Race doesn't matter. The only race that we're talking about is human race. I could get into a bunch of stuff, but I'm not in the mood to do that. But no. And anybody that gets into that race nonsense, I boot them off the channel. Got nothing to do with what we do here. All right, so again, looking for the questions. All right, so I don't see any questions here, so let's just go ahead and get into the myth of Narasimha. So what I'm going to do is, because it's such a deep myth, I'm just going to read through it, and I am going to then do some interpretation of what I think is going on here. So hopefully this will be helpful for you. So first we need to talk about who Vishnu is. So in terms of Hindu religion, we have the avatars of Vishnu, and there are at least 10 of them. 9 of them are connected to each of the planets. So whenever I do a Vedic astrological reading, I will give you 3 planets. I give you connection to more than 3 planets. But what I really want to focus on are the 3 planets that function with your 3 selves. You're made up of 3 selves. You're not just one person. You are a community of 3 entities in one body. So you have the middle self, which you are aware of. That is your soul. That is the part of you that is connecting to your conscious identity of who you are. That is the part of you that's listening to me now, that's interacting with me. Of course, you are influenced heavily by the other 2, but you are the soul. The soul is like the captain on the ship. He stands on the bow of the ship, or she, I don't know. The captain stands on the bow of the ship and says, okay, let's go here, and you go there, and you go do that, and let's go onto this course, and let's go to Costa Rica, and we'll sail the ship to Costa Rica, or whatever. So in order for the ship to actually go somewhere, that means the people who are listening to the captain actually have to be functionally going down and making the engine work and doing the this and the that. So all of the workers that are getting stuff done, this is our lower self. I'm touching my navel center right here. That's where all that is. That's the lower self. And then we have, in order for the soul, in order for the captain of the ship to know how to navigate and to know where he's supposed to go, he gets his orders and he has maps that tell him what to do and where to go and what he's supposed to do. And that comes from the higher self right up here. So we got the 3 selves, the higher, the lower, and the middle. And so Vishnu represents the middle self. As I was saying in the beginning, in order to get what you want out of life, you got to follow what your soul desire is, what brings you the greatest happiness and joy. A lot of people don't know what that is. So that comes from the soul. So the soul is the only thing that incarnates. The higher self doesn't incarnate into physical form, human form, the lower self, but they aid in the soul. The soul is the one that wants to incarnate, and these other 2 beings, the higher self and the lower self, are here to guide and to empower and to help. That's a whole other thing. We've talked about it a bunch of different times. So whenever there's a problem in Hindu mythology, whenever the demons, which really represent our instincts, our unconscious reptilian brainstem that has to do with fight or flight, or tend and befriend, which, by the way, a lot of people, we talk about fight or flight a lot. You're in your reptilian brain when you either want to fight or run away, but you're also in your reptilian brain when you want to tend and befriend, when you are trying to please other people in order to survive. Not please other people because you actually want to be helpful to them and you want to give something to them. That's different. When you're doing it because you want something from them, or you want to be accepted, or you don't want to be, looked down upon, then you are operating from tend or befriend. Somebody put on there, it wasn't a question, but somebody said, bring on the criticism. I don't care. I got to call bullshit on that. Nobody likes to be criticized. You may act like you're okay with the criticism. I don't buy it for a second. I do believe there are people who can say, people are going to say whatever they're going to say, and I'm just going to do what I want. I can listen to that. People who say, oh yeah, you can say whatever. I don't believe it. That's the flip side of insecurity. That's the false ego coming up, pretending that doesn't bother you, what people think. It does bother you. We all want to be loved. We all want to be accepted, and this is going to be a part of the myth. So So let's talk about that myth here. Let's talk about what the myth of Narasimha is and what he represents. So it's a long myth, so I'll try and, if I do the whole thing, we won't have time to answer any questions. So here's how things were going according to this myth. So we have, as I said before, we have the Devas and the Asuras, which means the celestial deities, and in my ethnic background that would be called the Aesir, the celestial deities, the gods. And then there is the Asuras. The Asuras in the Vedic Hindu tradition represent what we would call, in my ethnic background, the Vanir. So the Vanir are the gods of time and space, of fertility, magic, things that have to do with the physical world. Now the celestial deities and the terrestrial deities are oftentimes at war with each other. And what that represents is the struggle in us between getting our physical desires and instincts met and reaching and experiencing our highest spiritual awareness. The true human scenario is a combination, a balance of the two. And I teach very strongly that you should get everything out of this physical life, because the only reason that you incarnate is so that you can get all of your desires met. The problem is as we're going after our desires, we sometimes become stuck in going after things that either can never satisfy us, our addictions, our obsessions, or we get wrapped up in trying to be accepted by the world, and then we get wrapped up in that. Those are some of the pitfalls. And so, anyway, we have the gods and the demons, the Devas and the Asuras, and they're fighting. And so there's a demon whose name is called Hiranyakashipu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Hiranyakashipu. And it means golden haired. Now he is the brother of an Asura whose name was Hiranyaksha, which means golden eyed. And I talk about that when I'm talking about the myth that he's involved in the Vedic astrological certification program. Golden-eyed means you got your eye on the gold. It means greed. So Hiranyakashipu is golden-haired. So it means he's clothed himself in gold. So one is greed, going after, and one is hoarding all of the gold and all of the power. So Hiranyakashipu is a power-hungry demon. And what he wants is he wants to control all of the three worlds, the upper, the middle, and the lower. What does this represent? This represents the third eye, the lower self, and the soul. So this is the part of us that wants to control everything. And this is a major human failing, this idea that we need to control our life. This is what is happening, by the way, when I ask people what is it that they want, and if they go into the realm of where they say, well, if I had enough money, then I could do this. And I hear this one a lot. This one, you really know when somebody is trying to control others and please others, because you can't have both, and we'll see that. This guy, Hiranyakashipu, was all about how people saw him. In fact, it was his downfall. His downfall was because he demanded that people worship him as the infinite God of the universe. And this represents us. We want everybody to like us, we control. We try to control people. If they won't like us, we try and beat them up. We try and dominate them and control them. This is what dictators do. This is why when you go to a country that has a dictator in it, you have to worship the dictator, and if you don't, they put you in jail or they kill you. So that comes from this need to control everything. And when I ask people, what is it that you want to do? And they say, well, I need to have the money so I can go do what I want. And a lot of times they'll say, because if I had a lot of money, I'd give it to charity. And I'm asking, well, why do you need that? Why is that part of it? Well, I want to be helpful to people. And then they say, and then I could give money to my sister or to my family, or, So they have no money, but in their fantasy, they have a bunch of money so that they can then support their other family. And that's just a way of, a lot of times, not every time, obviously, but a lot of times it's a way of wanting to pacify those that whose opinions matter to you. It's a way of controlling people. Tend and befriend. When you kiss everybody's ass so that they like you, you become a martyr so that people will like you. This is a way of controlling. It's a form of violence. When people say this, they're always giving and giving and they're martyrs, and then there will come a breaking point and they'll say, I don't ask much, but in this instance, well, whenever somebody says, I don't ask much, that's somebody who is seeking to control people by constantly meeting their perceived needs. And when those people don't turn around and finally shower them with gratitude and thank you so much, then they do the I don't ask for much. That's how you know. Because a true gift is a true gift. You give it away, and if somebody takes your gift and throws it in the trash, you're like, well, that's what you want to do with it? Okay, you go right ahead. That's true selfless giving. In any case, so we've got this deity Hiranyakashipu who is all about control. So he has a wife, and his wife is pregnant with a little demon named Prahalad. And Prahalad, as he is in his mother's womb, hears all these stories about Lord Vishnu, which is the soul. And so as he's, maturing in the womb, he hears about Lord Vishnu, and he begins to worship Lord Vishnu and chant to Lord Vishnu in his mother's womb before he's born. So when he's born, he's a saint. He's completely devoted to the soul, Vishnu, completely devoted to the soul. So as he grows up, the demon Hiranyakashipu, who by this time has gotten a boon from Brahma. Brahma is the lower self. So this is all of these details are very important. He spends, I don't know how long, thousands of years or something in deep meditation to Brahma. Brahma appears to him, because this is what the gods do in Vedic myth. If you pray to them long enough, they eventually have to appear to you, and when they do, you can ask a boon from them. You can ask them to give you whatever you want, and they have to do it. So, because this demon wanted to rule all three of the worlds, which is the three minds, the three selves, he is successful. Brahma appears to him, and the gods, when they're worshipped to that extent, they become touched. They're like, wow, I can't believe you. Oh, what do you want? I'll give you whatever you want. So he says he wants to have the power to rule all of the three worlds. And then he has a list of things that he says. He can't be killed by a human or a god. He can't be killed in the night or the day. He can't be killed on the earth or in the sky. He can't be killed at day or night. I think I said that one already. So it puts all these things because he's trying to figure out, he's trying to control. You guys understand this? He's trying to control. And when somebody's trying to control things, they're always thinking in the future about what they need to do in case this happens or that happens or this happens or that happens. They're always worrying about the future. So he's doing that. He's trying to figure out, what way he will be completely invulnerable to attack. So he comes up with all of these lists. And Brahma says yes, and he gives him the boon. He says, yes, you won't be killed either day or night, in the sky or on the earth, by a human or by a god. You won't be killed by the blah, 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 blah. And you will have mastery over all of the entities in the universe and over the three worlds. So now he has all of this power. And so the gods get upset. And they're frightened because they can't. He has a boon from Brahma, which again is the lower self. He has this boon where he can't be killed. And so he's terrorizing the whole universe. And he is demanding that everybody worship him as infinite God. He's demanding everybody worship him. And so the gods go to Vishnu, because everybody knows that Vishnu is the one. What is Vishnu? Vishnu is the soul. So again, when it comes to your life, whatever your problems are, the answers are in your soul. How do you know what your soul is? It's not about praying or being religious or going to mass or temple or whatever it is. The way you know what your soul is, you ask yourself, what is it that gives me joy? Control will not give you joy. Money will not give you joy. Reputation, fame will not give you joy. I can list off so many extremely successful actors and musicians and politicians who have all of those things, had all those things, and a lot of them killed themselves, drank themselves to death, or died from overdoses. You know, it never is enough. Never. Michael Jackson, perfect example. The guy died overdosing, and while he's overdosing, he's talking about how he's going to help the children. Again, he wants people to know what a good person he is. He ends up dying. So control does not give you joy. Joy comes from really simple things. And within you, there's a simple thing that gives you the greatest joy in your life. And your highest spiritual goal is to make yourself happy. I just went surfing today. I haven't been surfing for a while because I've been so busy, and it was starting to weigh on me. You know, if I don't go surfing, I am not a happy person. I start to get depressed. So today was the first day I've had off in a long time, and because I live at the beach, because I've worked hard to be here, I went surfing. I had a new surfboard, and I went out, and I had the best time, and it did. It just fixed me. That is the most important thing I can do. The highest spiritual thing I can do is to go surfing, because it gives me joy. And when I'm living in my joy, then I'm able to actually do what I'm doing now and be available to do my part in giving back to the universe. And when I do that, the universe gives me everything that I need. Doesn't mean I'm going to be a billionaire. If that's what I needed, I would have it, but it doesn't mean that. It means I'm going to get all of the resources that I need to do exactly what I want. So I get all the resources I need to live right where I am now. And I am ready to see how that's going to change and grow. So control will never give you that. And if you're always thinking about the future and what people are thinking and what you need to do and what if this happens and what if so-and-so says that and how can I prevent this, you are living in fear. Needing to control comes from fear. So the bottom line is that Hiranyakashipu, even though now he's gotten control of the whole universe, is living in fear. He doesn't trust the universe. And he has this intense hatred for Vishnu. So he starts to rant and rave, and he starts killing everybody who worships Vishnu. And so, you know, I mean, you've heard this kind of stuff before. He has a loyalty oath, and people have to say to him to his face, you, Hiranyakashipu, the golden-haired one, you are the most powerful being in the universe. You are more powerful than Vishnu. He needs people to say that to him. If they don't, he kills them. So he has his son. His son is Prahalad. And he says to Prahalad, he says to he's a little boy at this point. He says, Prahalad, I am Lord of the universe. I want you to worship me as my son. And he's expecting his son to worship him, and he's going to be a good boy. And his son says, I can't do that, Dad. Vishnu is the all-powerful. The soul. He means the soul. And this infuriates Hiranyakashipu. And so when he can't get his son to worship him, he sends him off to school. And to get these teachers to teach him that he, Hiranyakashipu, is the Lord of the universe. And still, Prahalad says, no, I love my father, I honor my father. He is a very powerful man. He is the ruler of the universe, but he is not more powerful than the soul. He is not more powerful than Vishnu. And so Hiranyakashipu gets furious with him. And so he seeks to destroy him because he can't stand the thought. He can't stand the thought of his own son. It's not doesn't care that his son loves him and honors him. That's not enough for him. He can't stand the thought that his son doesn't see him as the ultimate power in the universe. And so he he does a bunch of things. Let me see if I can remember this. He throws him off a cliff, trying to kill him, and Prahalad chants to Vishnu, and nothing happens to him. He puts him in a pit of snakes, and all the snakes end up, bundling up together and create a bed for him. So all of these things happen. I think he tries to burn him to death. All these kinds of things he tries to destroy his son with. And all of these things, I won't get into it because it would take forever, but all of these things are these are symbols of the things that our own ego does to us when we are struggling to find out what it is we truly want. These are the things that we go through. And so finally, Hiranyakashipu is beside himself, and he is going to kill his son and demand that he worship him. And so as he's threatening to kill his son, he's threatening him. He's saying to him, "Where is Vishnu right now?" And Prahalad says, "Vishnu is everywhere." And then there's this big pillar. There's this metallic pillar in his castle, or whatever it is. And he says, "Is Vishnu there in that pillar?" And Prahalad says, "Yes." And so he takes out his mace and he goes to destroy out of anger. He's going to prove that he is stronger than Vishnu. So he goes to destroy this pillar, and the pillar bursts open, and out of the pillar comes Lord Narasimha. And Lord Narasimha is a man-lion, and this man-lion is this avatar of Vishnu that comes to protect Prahalad. And he then goes and proceeds to kill Hiranyakashipu. So what he does is, since it's twilight, he takes him out into in the doorway of his house, and he puts him on his lap, and with his claws, he tears open his belly and tears his guts out, literally. I mean, it's a really violent, just an incredibly violent scene, and it's one of the most popular pictures that is seen. You see it all over the place. If you type in Narasimha, this picture will come up. And people are like taken aback by, what does this mean? Well, this has some very important meaning to it. And I'm going to get into that about what was the significance of the metal pillar, and what was the significance of Hiranyakashipu being disemboweled. Before I get to that, I'm going to tell you, that the reason why Narasimha is able to kill him is because he is able to slip between all of the extremes of Hiranyakashipu's boon, when he said, "Give me the power and help me to that I won't be killed by a man or a god." And Narasimha is neither. He's both human and lion. That I won't be killed either at night or during the day. It's at twilight. That I won't be killed either inside or outside. He's taken right in between the doorway, between the outside and the inside of the house. That I won't be killed in the sky or on the earth, and so he puts him on his lap. So he's not touching the ground, he's not in the sky. So they find a way to get through all of it. Point being is that, no matter how much you think you're controlling things, there's always something. There's always something that you didn't miss. You can't control everything. And needing to control is a lack of trust. And again, Hiranyakashipu's thing is he hates Vishnu because Vishnu is seen as the most powerful, but also because it's that he doesn't trust the universe. He doesn't believe that the universe will take care of him. Prahalad, on the other hand, completely trusts the universe, even in the face of death. And so this is, again, the lesson that I've been saying. I say the first thing, if you want to follow my path, the first thing that you need to do is you need to learn how to trust. If you can't trust, none of it will work. Everything else I teach you won't work. You have to blindly trust in the universe. I don't care what you view the universe as. If you don't like the idea of God, I know I don't, then don't believe in God. Believe in whatever will work for you. Even not knowing, you can say, I don't know what's out there. Still trust. Trust in what you don't understand. Because the universe, like I said, the universe sees you as infinite God, and the universe is there to give you everything, as long as you're following the path that you said you wanted to follow. Before you were born, your soul said, I want to do this. Before I was born, my soul said, I wanted to surf. That was the one thing that gave me the greatest joy. And if you've listened to me, if you're new to my channel, you don't know, but I went through so much effort to get back to living where I live now, to do what I love, because I haven't been doing this. I spent 1 or 2 decades in my life doing other things, and it made me miserable. So I'm going to get back to you, and I'm going to explain to you why Narasimha broke out of a pillar, why that means something, and why he tore open Hiranyakashipu's guts and disemboweled him. It's very important information. We'll take a little bit of a break. I'll answer your questions, and then we'll come back and answer that. All right, so looks like there are some questions here, so let's take a look and see. So it looks like some of you guys are new, because you're asking questions that you should know by now if you've been following my channel. So Awen Dance says, again, if you want to get my attention, it's best if you put question. Otherwise, I can't tell the difference between what you're writing and somebody who's just dumping their opinion or, trolling the Q&A. So put question so I can see it, okay? I almost missed your question. Awen Dance, do you have to do something specific to connect with these divine beings? Well, have to is a strong word. But in order to connect with deities, you need to know, first off, what planet they're connected to. And then you need to find out in your astrological chart what it is you need to do in order to connect best with that planet. So for instance, in my chart, let's say the moon, for example. I have moon in Leo in my first house. So if I want to connect to the moon, because moon is in my first house, it means the physical body, it means I have to move. This is why I constantly, I'm talking about exercising. I need to move, otherwise I can't connect. My emotions won't. I get very unhappy if I don't surf, if I don't practice martial arts or go to the gym or ride my bike or whatever it is. If I don't move, my emotions are not happy. If I want to worship a moon deity and get the blessings of the moon, then I need to know what the moon wants. So moon for me is in the first house and is in Leo. Leo is the sign of the sun. So that tells me two things. That tells me that in order to worship the moon, I need to face east, and I need to worship the moon with fire, because the element of the sun is fire. So I either need to have a candle in front of me, or I need to be facing the sun, or if it's at night, I have a big bonfire. This is what the moon wants for me. So when you say, what do we have to do to connect? I don't know about have to, because you can do all kinds of different things. If you want, since I think this is a science, if you want to get the most out of it, then I need to take a look at your chart. That's what the Vedic astrological readings are for. Go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. Okay. Swift Data question. So Swift Data, I can already tell you're new to the channel because you're going to ask me a question. Forgive me, I'm going to pick apart your question, and you may feel a little bit picked on, but watch more of my videos so you know what it is that I teach, because your question is coming out of fear. Question: what is the reason for our government or something trying to stop our ascension? Nobody's trying to stop your ascension. People have their own things going on. And if you live in a world where the government is trying to control you, and I know this is so popular, the government, the archons, the Satan, there's something out there, and I'm going to reveal to you the real reason behind such and so blah blah, right? And then you're always watching the videos about the guy who's going to show you the true thing about the cabal of the wild, and they're out to get you, and if you don't understand, you created everything. So if you live in a world where the government does that, that's because you created that. You manifested that. So drop all these kinds of questions, because you're asking me why. And what would it benefit you? Let's say I answered your question and I said, well, the government is trying to stop your ascension so that they can control your life force energy and take away. How is that information helpful to you? It doesn't do anything for you. It just keeps you trapped in that it's control. Asking these kinds of questions is you want to control the universe. You're trying to be here in Yakashipu. So the short answer is the government and other people try and stop your ascension because it threatens them and they want to control the universe, just like Hiranyakashipu wanted to control his son. But his son worshipped the soul, and that made him invincible. That didn't make it, anyway, that's the point. If you want to follow my channel, learn that stuff. Drop all the fear-based garbage. Drop all the conspiracy stuff. I'm not saying conspiracies don't exist. I'm just saying forget about it. Who cares? Is anybody right now trying to control you? If not, then you're okay. Stop worrying about it. That's the bottom line. I appreciate the question, but you're starting from a false assumption, and I want to help you with that. Okay, so let's see. Question, Swift Data again. Is there any bad sides to astral traveling? Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Why do you want to know the bad sides? Why are you so focused on the negative? Again, what if I tell you the bad sides of... Who cares? Astral traveling is fun, but it's no different than anything else. Astral traveling is not any more or less spiritual than taking a walk or surfing or riding your skateboard. I'm glad if you want to do it, great, enjoy it, but let me just demystify it for you. It doesn't mean anything. And even if there is a bad side to it, I'm not going to get into that, because why are we focusing on that? Focus on more positive stuff. And I don't mean just like get out of it and be happy. I just mean, your need to look at the negative tells me that you're anyway, operating from some false assumptions about what the nature of the universe is. So watch more of my videos. Hopefully that will help. Anyway, let's see here. Let's go more Maclovia Padilla question. When practicing the celestial Qigong, for those of you who don't know, go to qigong.thunderwizard.com. That is spelled QIGONG.thunderwizard.com. Qigong means energy work, so I teach people how to connect directly to the life force energy of the universe, and it also will connect you to ancestral master teachers who will guide you further on your path. So, when practicing, continuing back with the question, when practicing the celestial Qigong, is it meant to be done in the sequence you've given, or can each one be done by itself, and can it be done inside of the thunder wheel? Excellent 3 questions. Is it meant to be done in the sequence that I've given? Yes, but that's not the only way to do it. I've given it in sequence for a reason, because it will open up certain things. But Celestial Qigong I created knowing that I was putting it on video, and knowing that people were going to do exactly what you want, which is they're going to do it the way they want to do it, how they want to do it. So I made sure I didn't put anything in there that could be dangerous, because in some really high level stuff, if you don't follow the exact directions and do it exactly the way you're told, you can harm yourself. But because I'm putting it on video, I had to make sure that it was going to be, that you couldn't hurt yourself. So to answer your question, you can do it out of sequence, and in fact I tell people lots of times, once they've gone through it, pick 1 or 2 exercises that they like and do them whenever you want. Now, let me tell you another really cool thing. If you do your celestial Qigong before you do the mantra in the ritual that I give you in the Vedic astrology readings, it will increase the power of both, not by 10 times, but by 1,000 times. It's incredibly powerful when you do the Qigong just before your mantra and your ritual, which is what I was talking about earlier, knowing which direction to face, what deity you're working with, which planet you're working with, and all that kind of stuff. When you do that together, it is incredibly powerful, and that's what I recommend that you do. Next question is, can it be done inside of the thunder wheel? Yes. That's also why I have a DVD out there called what do I call it? Medicine Wheel Qigong. Instead of Thunder Wheel, I use the word Medicine Wheel because that's what most people know. And it's using different postures for the different directions, which are the 9 worlds of the world tree. Absolutely, you can do it. And if you want to know how to do it and for what reasons, the more that you talk to me, then I can help create the perfect for you based on your chart, how to use Celestial Qigong in the Thunder Wheel that will be most beneficial for you. Thank you for the question. Emerson's bike, coffee, bike, and rum shop. Oh, that's not a question. All right, so Michael Hector, you're asking a stupid question, so I'm not even going to answer it. Yeah, guys, I know a lot of you guys are new, and I know a lot of guys are, people are sitting at home smoking weed, and they go on YouTube and whatever, and they want to have fun. The more serious you take this, the more you're going to get out of it. And the more likely I am going to want to help you. Seven Serpents question, what is a thunder wheel? This is a thunder wheel. Go on to one of my websites, michaelwilliamdenny.com, and you'll see all the books that I have on the thunder wheel. I teach about, again, if you're asking that question, you're new to the channel, go to my channel. If you don't know how to go to my channel, it's thunderwizard.com in YouTube, Thunderwizard, D-O-T-C-O-M. And if you know how to search somebody's channel, I know it's tough. People have to actually put effort into not just searching YouTube, but searching inside the channel. If you know how to do that, then search for Thunder Wheel and Thunder Shamanism. Put some time and effort. If you're new to my channel, I'm telling you, put some time and effort into learning this stuff. So to answer your question, you can learn about it there. You can go, I've got books on the Thunder Wheel. You can go to michaelwilliamdenny.com and type in Thunder Wheel or Thunder Shamanism. You can go to thunderwizard.com if you want to actually learn step by step how to use the Thunder Wheel. I teach people how to do that. You can subscribe to that and learn. I don't even know how many videos I got in there now, teaching how to do that. So that's how you learn about that. Doku 007 question. Am new. Can you talk a little bit about runes and their possible applications? Of course I can, but that's a huge subject. And that I'm going to have to save for another video. Again, go to my channel, type in runes. I have 3 one-hour videos. Just those in itself, which is one of my DVDs that I go and I put it onto YouTube because people are asking about it. Guys have to put some effort into things. YouTube makes it so hard because you go from one video to the next and this and that, and you put almost no effort into learning. I'm talking not you, maybe not you, a lot of people. We live in a society where we're just so distracted. You want to learn real spirituality, you got to put effort into it. That's why, you know, like in the Kung Fu series, you know, the kids were sitting out in front of the temple and the master would come out and he would see which kids were serious and he would say, you go home, you wait, you come in, and then they'd stay out in the cold. And if they had the ability to stay disciplined and stay out, then he knew that he could teach them. So go to my channel. There are hundreds of videos that have stuff in there that you know, are stuff that I had to pay hundreds and thousands of dollars and spend tons of hours of time with master teachers in order to learn, and I just throw it on there for free. So you guys got to put the work you have to do is just go and actually look for the video. Put some time and effort into it. But thank you for the question. All right, so no more questions. So let's continue a little bit. So remember, going through the myth here, we've got the myth of Hiranyakashipu, and Hiranyakashipu has, sorry, I'm looking for the little pictures here. Hiranyakashipu wants to be Lord of the universe, and he's got a son named Prahalad, which here's a picture of Prahalad in the snake pit. Prahalad, when he was in the womb, learned about Vishnu and worshipped Vishnu and came out a saint, completely focused on the soul. Prahalad represents our negative ego, our selfish, self-centered need to control the world and be the best and have everybody love us and think we're everything. And so Prahalad represents the part of our personality that's caught in the middle, that, you know, that wants all that stuff, but at the same time yearns to be connected to the soul and is stuck in the middle. And it also represents our experience of, you know, I want to follow my soul, but I can't. You know that feeling? And so we need, we feel as though we need divine help. The divine help comes from our soul. So there is an aspect of our soul which will come to defend that part of us if we stay true to believing and trusting in the universe, regardless of what our insecurities do to us. If they throw us in a snake pit, if they try and burn us, if they try and throw us off the top of a mountain, if they try and crush us. If we have those feelings, you know, when we give in to those fears and we go after trying to please other people or control other people or control the world or get people to love us, when we go down that path, it's because we have walked away from trusting that the universe will take care of us. If we trust the universe will take care of us regardless of what's coming at us, then what will happen is at some point it will feel as though our ego wants to destroy us. So those of you who are following me, if you're going through that period where you feel like going after what you want is killing you, if you stay true to what you truly love, then what will happen is that your soul will break out of the spinal column, which is the Kundalini. This Kundalini goes up the spinal column. So the explosion of Kundalini is Narasimha breaking out of the pillar. It represents getting past the navel chakra. Now, most people in the world, the farthest that their Kundalini rises is their navel chakra. By the way, Kundalini just means your psychological development. It doesn't mean having tingly fingers or feeling warm. That just means that there's something wrong with you. It just means you're out of balance. There's nothing spiritual about, going into convulsions, and it just means that you're really out of balance. You're not spiritual at all. True Kundalini, when it opens, there's no negative side effects. You may have some pleasant experience. You might not have any experience. So when the Kundalini, which is the psychological maturity, all of the chakras opening up is about psychological maturity. It has nothing to do with superpowers. Psychological maturity. When this Kundalini is rising up and it hits the navel center, then you go through the struggle of wanting to control the world or wanting to be loved by everybody, or should I go after what makes me happy? The Prahalad represents what feels like the little kid in us, the helpless little kid that wants to go after the stuff. And Hiranyakashipu represents the physical instincts, our reptilian brainstem that tells us to fight or flight, and we have to control or kill or screw everything in order to get what we want. And so when you stay true to following your soul, which is Vishnu, you stay true to following your soul, and you run into this period where you feel you're about to die, and even when you feel you're about to die, you still say, I'm going to go after what my soul wants. Then the soul breaks through the spinal column. And not literally, it doesn't literally. It means that it represents the Kundalini breaking through the third, there's a granthi, a knot there. It breaks through the knot in the spinal column and gets past the navel center, which is all about control and domination on the negative side. On the positive side, it's about saying, this is who I am and this is what I do and I am who I am. That's why he's a lion. Vishnu is a lion here because he represents that you can have an ego, you can have a sense of self, and it can be beautiful and wonderful and 100% spiritual. Your soul wants you to have a sense of self and identity and be self-sufficient and self-empowered. So empowered that nobody else can stop you, that nobody's opinion can stop you, that no fear of anything can stop you, that you're willing to die in order to go after what you want. My ancestors, where this symbol comes from, my ancestors believed that if you died in battle, you went to Valhalla. Dying in battle does not mean killing somebody with a sword or being killed as you're trying to kill somebody. It means that you go after what brings you the greatest joy in life. You live your life fearlessly going after what you want, even if it means it'll kill you. Because you know that having fun and being connected to your soul is more important than living an eternal life. It's more important than that. Being in the moment and having every moment mean something to you is what spirituality is all about. That's why Buddhism is always trying to stay in the moment. Because Buddhism is about is trying to disconnect the intellect so you're not trying to think about everything all the time, trying to control everything with your thoughts. Now, a lot of people, especially in Western society, live in their heads. That's why I said earlier, people are always asking me, I love what you're saying, but can you give me evidence? Or do you have any proof? They're stuck in their intellect. Buddhism is about saying, the intellect is here to serve the soul, not the other way around. So somebody who asks me, can you give me evidence or proof that this, that, and the other thing, it means that they've got it backwards. Their intellect is dominating their soul. You have to switch it. You switch it, you let the soul dominate so that the intellect goes out to try and give you stuff so that you can feel comfortable going after your soul. But the intellect will never understand spirituality. That's why you can never prove life after death. You can never prove astrology. You can never prove Qigong, even though when you do it, you get all kinds of crazy power and all kinds of good stuff. You can't scientifically prove it. It's a waste of time. Don't even bother trying. It'll never happen. There's a realm of spirituality that just comes from experience and trust. Two things, I'm not just talking about blind faith like Christians do. When they say, do you have enough faith? If you had the faith of a mustard seed, you can move them out. Oh, you don't have enough faith in Jesus? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about believing that the universe is there. You can't do Qigong without having that trust either. Why does this move here and why does this here? Why does all this stuff make all kinds of energy come out of my body? Well, if you try and think about it too hard, it won't work. I mean, it will, actually. If you do it right, it will, but you'll still be trying to figure it out all the time. So this is what's happening here. This is why Narasimha, the man-lion, it means that your soul will come to defend you. And when you get to that place where you feel like you're dying because you're going after what you want, and it's painful and frightening, and you desperately want to either control everybody to get them to love you, or kiss their ass so that they'll love you, or do what it is everybody wants you to do so that you'll be okay and be loved and accepted. When you're willing to die to that, and it will feel like you're dying, your soul will come out like a lion to grab hold of you and protect you and to save you from that. I could go into all of this, that what I just talked about is also the cure for all disease, in my opinion. I believe that all disease, except for maybe some really heavy karmic ones that people have chosen to experience so that their soul could learn something, are a result of people who are not 100% going after what makes them happy. Now, before you start thinking that I'm trying to be a perfectionist, because some people go there, they think, well, I can't be perfect. I'm not trying to tell you to be perfect. I'm trying to tell you, go after what makes you happy, regardless. And that's going to be painful. Let me give you a basic tenet of my teaching once again. Remember that everything starts with an assumption. I'm attacking people who have fear-based assumptions. This is why if you're new to my channel, it's probably not a good idea to ask any questions until you've watched some videos, because you probably have some false assumptions that I'm going to attack. And those assumptions are, if it's based in fear, if you feel you are small and the universe is big, if you feel the universe is out to get you, if you believe that God is controlling you, if you believe that anything out there has the power to destroy you, that is a false assumption. But if you start with that false assumption, everything that you think and believe on top of that will also be false. So this is why some religions are just a complete waste of time, because they're based on a false assumption. Christianity is a good example. It starts from the assumption that you are sinful and God hates you and he's going to throw you into hell. And unless you accept Jesus, right? So the assumption you're no good and God hates you, that's where it starts. You're sinful. That's a false assumption. The assumption I'm coming from is that you are divine, you are eternal, you are omnipotent, and you are in this body because you want to experience life like a video game. You want to have fun. If you start from that, then the whole universe is your video game that is programmed to help you get what you want. But when you don't go after what you truly want, the universe goes, I don't know what to do. And so it doesn't do anything. And then you end up getting into some fear-based, loop, some fear-based virus that keeps you trapped in your own garbage, and you make yourself miserable and you make yourself sick. And for some people, it will physically kill them. An easy example would be alcoholism or drug addiction. There are people that die from that because they're stuck in that. They can't get out of it. And it comes from, at some point, they made continuous decisions to go against what truly made them happy in an effort to either protect themselves from people they were afraid of, or in an effort to control people, or in an effort to be loved and accepted by people or things or society or religion or God or whomever. Trying to please God. Those of you who think that you're a good person because you please God, you're God. So trying to please something out there is a complete waste of time. Even if you follow what Jesus supposedly said, which is the kingdom of God is within you, that means that what you need is already here. There's nothing that you don't need that you don't have inside of you. Nothing. It's very sad. I've got a family member that I've just found out has been homeless. I think he's got a little bit of money right now and he'll be okay, but he's been homeless. He's 60 years old and he's homeless. And I've known him his whole life, and I've watched him continuously make decisions that have put him right where he is. So if you want the best out of life, there's only one way to do it, and that is follow what makes you happy. And the whole way that this game is presented, this video game of life, is that when you go after what you truly want, you will continuously be challenged to make decisions between pleasing other people, or controlling and dominating other people, or taking a risk, which will feel very risky, like you'll have to quit your job, or you won't know where the money's going to come from, or people won't love you, or people won't understand you, or daddy won't love you, or your wife won't love you. I went through that, or whatever it is. And you'll have to choose your soul. And when you choose your soul, which is you're dying to yourself in that moment, you are willing to die in battle. Because what is battle? Two people coming together. They have differing ideas. That's battle. You die in that, not meaning you fight against them, but that you go after what you truly want, thinking that they might kill you for it, whether that be physically or emotionally or spiritually or otherwise. When you go after that, then you're free and you get what you want. And you receive happiness, and you learn the difference between living for others and living for your soul. Now, the great thing about it is, if you live for your soul, what ends up happening is that the caliber of people in your life jumps up one. I met the love of my life, the absolute love of my life, my soulmate. I will never meet the likes of her again. I might meet somebody who has some other soulmate connection to me, but in terms of that, she was it. And it was a direct result of doing what I just said. Now, she has since passed, so that's very sad for me. But what has happened since I've continued on that path is that the level of people that are coming to me, and there are women that are popping up in my life who are of such a high caliber that I never would have seen had I been going after what I was doing before. I never would have attracted them. So if you're afraid you're going to lose people and you're going to lose, people that love you, what will happen is you may end up losing people that you think you want in your life. But what will happen is the people that will come to replace them will be of such a much higher caliber. And you'll end up being loved in a much deeper, better way. Going to Valhalla, reaching Nirvana. These things aren't something out there. Nirvana is not out there. Valhalla is not out there. Nothing changes. Let me just tell you something. Nothing changes when you physically die. When you physically die, you will be in the same state you are. If you're operating from fear, you will create another spiritual place where you're going to want to learn to grow past that. Some people, when I shared about the Matrix and exiting the Matrix, and people have said that they need to get out of this horrible Matrix. The Matrix is horrible, and I'm like, well, if you escape the Matrix with the mindset that you have, you will simply create another one that will be just as bad, if not worse. So stop waiting for after death. Do it now. Live for it now. Because when you do, and you do end up leaving the body, then you will end up going to a spiritual plane of existence that will be just amazing. But you won't get there until your mind is ready to accept it. And your mind won't be ready to accept it until you go after it. That's what life is all about. People say, why do we have to be reincarnated? I hate it here. You chose to come here because you said, I want to go to those higher places up there, but I need to learn fearlessness. You can't do that when you're a spirit because you're infinite and you can feel that you're infinite. You need to limit yourself and have this illusion of death so that you will be forced to make fearless choices which will raise the vibration and the awareness of your soul so that when you do leave this body, you'll be able to see more that's available to you. Your soul wants to have fun. That's all it wants. Joy is what the universe is made of. There's nothing beyond that. I could go on about this subject for tens of thousands of hours, but anyway, so I've very lightly gone over the myth of Narasimha. So I'll see if there are any questions here. And again, you know, guys, it's great that you talk to yourselves, but I have to scroll through it all, and I would much rather just get to the questions. But I also know you're helping each other out, so yeah, that's me trying to control everything. So I'm not seeing any questions here. Yeah, not seeing any questions. I can't help you if you don't tell me that you're asking. The other reason I do that is this. In order to truly teach, the student has to ask. And so if the student doesn't ask, then for me to drive up on you and tell you what I think you need to do in your life is abusive. Because, what do they call that? Unsolicited advice. And unless you're my apprentice, and I feel I've earned that right from you, I'm not going to tell you what to do unless you ask. So that's why it's good to ask. Doku 007. You're going to ask a question again. You haven't watched my videos. What are the three selves? Watch my videos. Put some effort into watching my videos. That's a huge question. I can't go into it. But you have your lower self, your higher self, and your middle self. Those connect to the three levels of your mind: your conscious mind, your unconscious and subconscious mind, and your higher self, your superconscious mind. Do they have any relation to the 7 chakras or the Chinese meridian system? Yes. They're not the same. They're interposed on top of each other. The chakras are in the spinal column. The 3 selves are the residences of the 3 dantians. And the meridians are the points along that. Those are all big questions. The short answer is yes. But you need to watch more of my videos to know about each one of them. Okay, I don't see any more. Lady Red, question. I have started on a book about Tarot. What tips do you have for self-publishing? Just write it and go to Create Space. Put it up there. That's all I did. I tried going the publishing route, and it was a waste of time. So what I did is I just, by the way, in order to have it to be successful, it's got to be something that you need to get out. I wrote books because I needed to get it out. These were things within me that were driving me crazy, so I had to write them. And when I wrote about them, then I put them in book form and I just put them up. I didn't do it thinking I was going to sell millions of books or any of that kind of stuff. I just did it because I had to get it out. So you go to Create Space and just follow the directions. It's real simple. All right. Sherry, again, it helps me if you put questions so I know that you're asking a question. What are the 4 selves? I didn't say there were 4 selves. So I don't know what teaching that is. That's not my teaching. I'm not saying there aren't 4 selves, but that's not what I teach. There are 3 selves. There's the middle self, which is the soul. There is the upper self, which is the 3rd eye, the higher self that's here to guide. And there is the lower self. The connection, but that's why you have mind, body, spirit, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Odin, Vili, and Ve, heaven, earth, and man. That's why you see trinities everywhere. Because they're not talking about the trinities out there. They're talking about within your God. You are God. You are infinite. You are the infinite master of the universe. And within you are 3 selves. By the way, Christianity, even though it teaches about a trinity, it's not written anywhere in the Bible, New or Old Testament. The reason why Christians teach a trinity is because our polytheist ancestors who converted could not get rid of the idea of a trinity, and so they imposed it on the Bible. But it's not in there. It's not in there. Not in that way. Okay, so that is all. Again, there's a lot of new people here. My suggestion is to, again, put some time and effort into watching my videos. Go to thunderwizard.com on YouTube Thunder Wizard, DOTCOM, so that you can actually put the time and effort to learn what it is that I teach. 99% of your questions are going to be answered. Binge watch my channel. I'm telling you, there's stuff on there you won't find anywhere else. It's just a fact. There's stuff that I've taught on there that came from very high-level masters that I wasn't supposed to teach to the world, and are supposed to be kept secret and all that. That sometimes you have to spend thousands of dollars and thousands of hours to learn, and I'm teaching it out there for free. And if you're smart enough, and if you're persistent enough, and if you have the karmic destiny to master things, like really high-level stuff, you'll know which ones they are. People say, which ones are the best? Well, if you're meant to find them, you will. But they're on my channel, free for everybody to learn. Okay? Put some time and effort into it. Don't be your basic modern Westerner who just simply only deals with what's right in front of them all the time. Well, put some time and effort into it. Okay. Looking, seeing if there are any questions here. I don't see, oh, Johnny Delgadillo. Question. I have been allowing planets, nature, spirits, deities. I have let my spirituality come to me acceptingly, but also through the guide of my celestial. Do you? Okay, I don't see a question. There's no question there. So you're going to have to find a way to ask that question. You know, if the question is that long, especially now, there was no question in it, but if the question is that long, you're thinking too hard. Questions are not that hard. Okay. Don't think so much. Only ask me one question at a time, not four smashed into one thing. So try again. See if you can narrow it down. I'll be happy to answer it if I can. Okay, let's take a little bit of a break. I'll come back and see if I have any last minute comments and see if there's any other questions. So I'll be right back. Okay, now I remember. I knew there was something that I had forgotten about. So this picture here, take a look at this guy. That is a ivory carving of a man-lion. And it was found in a cave in Germany. And it is between 35 and 40,000 years old. So let's just get a perspective on that. 40,000 years old. Human beings have been, the Earth has been outside of an ice age for only 10,000 years. That means 30,000 years prior to that, the Earth was going through multiple ice ages. And the first modern humans we think arrived in Europe about 40,000 years ago. Now, in Europe 40,000 years ago, there were cave bears and cave lions, and there were elephants, and there were, all kinds of stuff. So one of the things that they would do is they would use ivory for all kinds of things, and one of them was that they would carve, they would carve idols out of. Now this, I believe, is the oldest or one of the oldest that we know of. So that means the first representation of a carving which has spiritual significance is Narasimha, man-lion. So the word Narasimha, Simha means lion. Interestingly, it's the same in some African language, Simba. It's too close to be, Simba, Simha, it's too close to be a coincidence. These are unrelated languages, as I understand it. But the word Narasimha, Nara is a very ancient Indo-European word that is loosely translated as human. But it doesn't mean human in the sense of physical human walking around. It means divine human. And we see this in the name of the thunder god in ancient Germanic language, which is Thunar. You probably know of him as Thor. But Thor is the Scandinavian pronunciation, which is a later contraction of the original Thunar, Thor. Thunar. Thu is an ancient word. We still have it in the word dew. It means, the dew that comes out of the ground. It literally comes out of the ground. It's because it's an ancient Indo-European myth where the thunder god wants to drink the nectar of immortality, which is either the soma in the Vedic or is mead, honey water in the Germanic. And he lusts after the moon, which is the sustenance of the moon. So when the moon is full, he climbs up in the sky and he grabs the moon and he wrestles it down under the ground, and that's the moon waning. The moon waning is the thunder god wrestling this moon down under the earth. And when he gets it under the earth, then he squeezes it. He squeezes all of the life force energy out of it, all of the prana, all of the chi, and that comes out in this liquid of the soma, the mead. And then once he's done that, then the moon, so it's kind of slippery now. It slips out of his hand and goes boink, and goes back into the sky. And then it starts waxing. It starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The dew that comes out of the ground is this life force energy that, according to the mythology, is coming up out of the ground through and is on the plants. When you wake up in the morning, the dew on the plants, the thu, is the life force energy of the plants. That's where the myth of the manna in the Bible comes from, which is actually a real thing. There's a bug in the desert that squeezes out this, this sugary thing. You can eat it. That's what the manna there really was a thing. It's still, if you go to the deserts of, the Sinai desert, you can find the bugs that'll release that. But the sweetness of it and all that, and it coming up in the morning and all that, that's the same thing, the dew coming out of the ground. Thu. The Lord of the Thu is the thunder god. So his name is Thunar. Nar is the divine first cause. We translate it as Lord. So Thunar means Lord of the Thu, Lord of the ambrosial nectar, Lord of the moon. But Nar actually means the divine first cause. And so the deity in Vedic tradition called Narayana is a form of Vishnu. It means the first cause of divinity. So Narasimha means the divine first cause lion. And the human part of it, when we say human lion, we are not saying physically human. We are saying the divine nature, the divine first cause of the universe. That means that human beings are made up of what? The divine first cause of the universe, which is your soul. Your mind is the moon. The mind does what? The mind reflects the sun. When the full moon is out, it means that it's reflecting to the best of its ability, reflecting onto the earth the light of the sun, which is what the mind does. The mind meditatively reflects the light of the soul. My ancestors called human beings Man. Man means moon. It means mind. It means that human beings are the reflection of the divine first cause. And in times past, Man didn't mean male. It meant humans. When you wanted to talk about sex, like male and female, you had ver, which is where we get the word virile. Same thing in Latin, virile, ver. Same thing in the Vedic tradition. That's where werewolf comes from. Werewolf means man-wolf. And then weef. Weef meant woman. We use the word now as wife. So when somebody says my wife, literally what they're saying is my woman. So, and by the way, the word husband. Husband means housebound. So there's the housebound and woman. Who do you think's in control of that one? The guy that's housebound is not the one in control. It's the woman. It's the weef. So man is the divine reflection and our mind. So human beings are divine. They're the only animals on this earth that have the ability to reflect the light of the soul. S-O-U-L was spelled S-A-W-U-L, Saul, and it meant the soul. It also meant the sun in the sky. See how our ancestors saw things? They saw things a lot differently, but we still have the words. We still have it in our language, whether we realize it or not. So anyway, I went off on a bunch of stuff, but bottom line is that when you are faced with going after what you truly want and you're afraid that you're going to be, people aren't going to love you, or your parents are going to reject you, or society or God will hate you for being a sinner, and you go after what it is you truly want, even though you're afraid it's going to kill you, then your soul, the first cause divine part of you, will come out like a lion to protect you and destroy that self-sabotage. I promised I would explain to you why his guts were torn out. Hiranyakashipu, that part of you. It means this is your navel center. And so what it means is that when your third chakra, which is your navel, when it truly opens, it will destroy the part of you that needs to control and dominate the world. Whether you're doing that through fight or flight by actually trying to control people or criticize them, or whether you're doing it by wanting to kiss people's rear ends and ask for their love and forgiveness and will you please like me. It will destroy that need, because Hiranyakashipu, he wanted above everything else, he wanted everybody to worship him as the ultimate. He already was. So there was no need to control that. He just had to see it within himself. He didn't need other people to see it in him. And when you go after trying to get other people to see that in you, then you end up trying to control them, either by loving them and kissing their behind, or by trying to pound it into them and dominate them and control them. So when your third chakra truly opens, your soul will literally tear that apart so that you will be able to be self-satisfied within yourself. You won't need anything outside of you. You will know who and what you are. And that comes only from the soul. This is why Vishnu is the one who incarnates. Okay, so I think I've said everything I need to say on that. I'll double check to see if there are any questions. And if not, we'll call it an evening. Excuse me. Blake W. Question. Can you use the 9-world runes spread with the tarot? It's okay with me. I haven't tried it. I don't know anything about tarot, so I can't make any decisions about it, but I don't see any reason why not. I know it works really well with runes. The 9-world rune spread is the one that I should probably certify people in that as well. When people call me for rune readings, that's what I give them. If you want that, go to runereadings.thunderwizard.com or go to transformation.thunderwizard.com if you want to get a 9-world rune reading. The reason why it's really great is because it deals with the 9 worlds, which are 9 aspects of yourself. Well, that's why there's 9 planets. That's why there's 9 worlds. That's why there's 9 directions, including the center. Because even though you're made up of 3 entities, there are 9 aspects to you, which are also the 9 worlds. So I could get into that, but let me see if I can do it offhand. So, no, I can't do it offhand. That's a whole other thing. Anyway, all right. Going to seeing if there are 7 Serpents question. When you say Qigong, do you mean Chinese Qigong, or is it from Norse tradition? It's a good question. The Qigong that I teach, if I'm truly answering your question, it's from both. But because when I was creating Celestial Qigong, I didn't realize it at the time, but I was being taught by the ancient Earth Mother Goddess of Europe, whose name is Hole. That's where the Hul breath came from. H-U-U-L. Go onto my channel, type in H-U-U-L breath. You'll learn the most powerful, most balancing energy practice that I know of, the Hul breath. That was given to me directly from the Earth Mother Goddess of Northern Europe. And it follows all the, Qigong is a science. So the Chinese, to answer your question, the Chinese were very skilled at this science, and so they have developed their own science, but they didn't make it up. They were simply shaman scientists who were listening to energy in the body, and they, learned how to tap into it. Reason why I say that is because even though I have channeled some stuff which I believe came directly from my European ancestors, a lot of what I learned started in the Chinese Qigong, which is what Celestial Qigong is connected to. It's connected to the Shang Qing tradition, the original, sorcerer tradition of China. But there's evidence that the Northern Europeans, including the Norse, had this knowledge. We've lost it over time because when the Christians came in, they wiped all that out. And one of the ways that we know that is that there's an ancient burial. It's a ship burial, and in the ship were female staff carriers. They were seers. They were female shamans. And in there was a bucket, and in the bucket there was a brass, where you handle thing. I don't know what it was, but that little brass handle thing on the bucket, there was a man sitting in full lotus. Now, and he's meditating. And this is 1,000 years ago. So this is long before the yoga craze. They didn't know anything about yoga, or they had their own tradition of meditation and sitting in full lotus and meditating and doing energy work and all of that. They had their own tradition. And it was probably taught like it was in ancient China and India. It was probably done in secret to people who were initiated, and it probably wasn't taught to the general public. So there's a science to all of this. It's not just, well, that culture made up that and that culture made up that. No, what I'm saying, what I'm doing with this syncretizing, is not just looking for random similarities. I am, and I believe I've been tasked to do this by the universe, to look at this scientifically and bring together ancient traditions, both known and unknown, from all of our ancestors, and bring it all together. And as the Hopi myth states, when we're able to bring all this together, then we can transcend to the next level of reality. I think that's what I'm here to do, among other things. So I hope I answered your question. Ultimately, who cares? That's an intellectual question. When I say Qigong, do you mean Chinese Qigong or Norse? Who cares? Bottom line is, does it work? Who cares where? Stop thinking that kind of stuff. Who cares? Having said that, I'm glad you asked the question. And let's see if there are any more questions here. Question, and then there's no, oh, here it is. What was the meaning of the pillar the lion came out of? I think I explained that, but I'll do it again. The pillar is the spinal column. It's all happening within you. Hiranyakashipu, Prahalad, Narasimha, all of these things are happening in your body. The pillar is the spinal column, and he tears open his stomach because he's saying it's happening in the navel center. So it's the spinal column right in the navel center. When the person achieves the psychological maturity of the third chakra, which is all about control and identity, when he goes out of the lower vibration, which is everybody give me what I want and everybody worship me, and goes into, oh, I am God, I don't need anybody to worship me, then boom, it's like an explosion in the navel center. Not that you feel any of this. It's all symbolic. That's where your power center is. That's why in Qigong you put your hands over the navel center. That's why you focus on the navel. That's why you breathe from the navel. That's why you bring all it, because the navel is the power center. Got it? Let's see, what else? The Apologetic asks, Northwest is a good direction for worship of Mother Hul. And what do we use for ritual? Daniel Leese. Question. Northwest is a good direction for worship of Mother Hul. The best direction for Mother Hole is southwest. Reason why we go to the southwest is because that's the deep earth. So you got to kind of be careful with the southwest. Having said that, if you want to worship Mother Hole, what I'd suggest you do is do the standing Hul breath posture. And for that, you're going to either have to have the book or video or something, and stand and do the Hul breath in that direction, and then chant Hul in that direction. Having said that, you can face the northeast. The northeast is the default direction for all worship. If you don't know which direction to face northeast. But yeah, so that's the best way that I can answer. What do we use for ritual? It's a good question. Because, there's not a planet for Earth. There's not, how to worship the Earth in Vedic astrology. Because the Earth is where you are. You're the Earth. So, things having to do with the Earth I think is the best answers. I would face southwest, and I would give, candy, nuts, things having to do, plants, things that represent the earth. That's if you wanted to worship her. I'm hesitating because I've never thought of it like that before. Because if I wanted to worship Mother Hola, that's what I would do, is I would just simply chant it, because you're there. You're already on the earth. So when I want to do that Hul breath, I just get in the Hul breath posture and I chant Hul. If you don't know how to do it, go look on my channel. For those that don't know, go look for it on my channel. Anyway, thank you, Daniel. Did I answer your question? I think I answered your question. All right. All right, so I think that's it for me. Right now, whoops. Did I miss something? I did miss something. Emerson's Coffee Bike and Rum Shop threw down $2. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. She says, yes, please, rune reading and staff carrier certifications. Yes, those will be coming. Those will be coming. Pearl McCoy, question, is the Ralph Blumenthal rune set a good one to work with? I don't know. I don't know what that one is. I use this one. I don't even know which one it's called. The only reason I use it is because, you know, it doesn't have too much stuff. You know, by the way, I don't ever listen to any of this stuff on the back. So if you're asking me, is there a good rune set that has the meanings? I never take any of these meanings. I think most of the time they're nonsense. So I'd prefer to have, you know, if I'm doing cards, I'd prefer to have a rune set that didn't have anything. In fact, some of them I get, they don't have anything on them. The only reason I use cards is because I did rune readings over the phone, and when I shuffle the cards, it's a lot less noise than if I'm shaking up, you know, actual runes to, you know, shuffle them. So that's the only reason I use cards. So I don't know. I don't know the Blumenthal rune set. It doesn't really matter. Just however you get your runes is how you get your runes, in my opinion. Having said that, do whatever makes you feel good. Okay, any more questions here? Thanks, Daniel. I answered your question. I don't know. I don't see any other questions. So, is there anything else that I want to talk about? Let us take a moment so I can think about that. Okay, so I think that's it for me. Like I said, I'll check and see if there are any last minute questions. Now's the time. If you got a question, ask it. Valerie Bradshaw, question, what are your thoughts on this month's eclipse? Holy crap. I mean the one that we just had? Holy crap. That one, if there's another eclipse this month, I'm really behind. The one that we just had, the lunar eclipse, man, that was huge. I completely missed it. And I was driving home from somewhere, and I all of a sudden started feeling like I was getting really sick. In fact, I thought I had the stomach flu. And what ended up happening was that then things got better, and then I found out later that that was the eclipse. The eclipse was happening, you know, a little bit later. The lunar eclipse. So those are my thoughts about it. I think it was in Leo. I have my moon in Leo. So there you go. That's why it affected me as much as it did. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions here? Yep. Yeah, Loki tiered Ducato. I have to agree with him here. He says Ralph Bloom is not. By the way, I don't know Ralph Bloom, so I'm only tooting my own horn here because somebody else is. Ralph Bloom is not a reliable resource for a deeper knowledge of the runes. Get one of Mike's rune books and/or I'm not gonna promote somebody else's book. Get one of Mike's rune books. So there you go. Valerie Bradshaw, lunar eclipse 141. What, 41? Anyway, one was in, I'm taking that means that one was in January, and then the solar is 2/16/18. So thank you. I will have to take a look at it. I have been lax in looking at my transits, even though I'm a Vedic astrologer. So, all right, that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much. If you are interested in a Vedic astrological reading, I highly recommend it. It is the most powerful tool I have to help you. And talk to those who've had a reading from me. If I do very specific things in my astrological readings that are very hard to find. To get all the stuff that I do in my reading, you'd have to get a bunch of different people. Most of the astrologers know about this stuff and either don't understand it deeply or don't practice it. I practice the things, and I in the readings that I give you things that you can use all the time that will make your life better now. And these are things that I'm very self-oriented, so I've learned all this stuff, and spent a lot of time researching what works for me. I'm not interested in a bunch of, airy-fairy crap about, sometimes it's just, some of it is just so, who cares? I want to know what I can do today, and I want to know things that I can do from now until the rest of my life that will always help me. Which of the 3 planets are dealing with the 3 parts of my mind? Which deities are connected that I can always worship? Which directions? Which rituals? All that kind of stuff. So if you want to learn about that, you can get a reading from me, or you can, if you want to learn it, you can go to astrologycertification.thunderwizard.com. And there are 2 levels of certification. I'm in the midst of creating the 2nd level. The 2nd level will be people who I will put my stamp on if they pass the test. I'll put my stamp on them, and then they can work underneath me where, I can't guarantee this, but if it gets to the point where I'm out, I have too many astrology readings, I will siphon them off. I will also put you on the website, and I'll say you can get a reading from me for $1 billion, or you can get one for 108 from my my apprentices who I've approved. And people can pick and choose, and they can still get my kind of reading, but if they don't want to pay 3 times the price, they can get one from you. So it's also, you can use my name and my website and videos. I'll make videos that people can use to promote themselves. So if you want to create your own astrology business, I can be the guarantor of that in terms of your reputation, because you'll be using my reputation, because I will have said these people know my system and I trust them and that sort of thing. And you can learn about the avatars of Vishnu and what planets they're connected to, and the lessons, because going through all of them will give you a lesson on how to allow the soul to interface for you to overcome all of the self-sabotage that we put in front of us. Because that's really what this life is all about. This life is all about learning how to live from the soul and to defeat and destroy all of the video game bad guys, which are the self-sabotage routines that we allow ourselves to go through, out of the illusion that we're going to die. We all do it, myself included. I'm just as human as you. Let's see, what else? Anything else? If you need a personal counseling session with me, either about how to find out what your soul desire is, or how to find out the ways to figure out what the best career path for you is, or sometimes just people just need to talk to somebody like me, you can go to career.thunderwizard.com. And pretty soon I'll be teaching people how to do that. I have a specific method on how I talk to somebody when they can't figure out what it is that they really want. And so I can teach you how to do that as well. So that may be another certification that's coming up. All right, that's it for me, my friends. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your life, and my apologies for taking so much time. I've just been incredibly busy and happy running around doing all kinds of stuff. Last question I'm seeing here. Question: where do you get your rune meanings from, if not from book? Your question has an assumption there. Where did the people who write, assuming that I have to get my meanings from a book, where did those people get their meanings from? See what I mean? To answer your question, I've studied the language. The runes are not only syllables and sounds. For instance, the rune, let me see if I can pick one. The rune Ansuj keeps coming to mind. So to understand what Ansuj means, I have to know what that Proto-Germanic word meant. And this is what a lot of people don't know. So, I mean, let's just see what these guys here. I'm just going to pull this guy. I don't even know the name of it. So let's see. What does he say Ansuj is? Because you're going to hear me probably take them apart. Because they're probably not going to know what the word itself means. So Ansuj. Keywords: communication, answers, poetry, insight, mysteries, knowledge. So some of that is true. Ansuj means ancestor. So that's one of the ancient meanings of the word Ansuj. So why does Ansuj have to do with communication? That is true, because Ansuj means God mouth. It also means deity. It's the ancient word for what became Os or Aesir. Ansuj, it means deity. It means ancestor, because what are we? As I said before, we are reflections of the divine. We are reflections of the gods. We are gods in flesh. Our ancestors are divine gods. It also means celestial deity. Celestial deity. Everything in the universe, we are made up of the things that came off of stars. Everything in your body came from a star. So we are actual descendants of the stars. So what does that have to do with communication? Because it means to communicate with the divine, to communicate with the gods, to communicate with the divine. How do I know that? I know that because I know what the word means and I meditate on that. So what this person does, like most people, they have some bits and pieces and then they just do this random association, which may mean nothing. So magical workings, divination, enlightenment, seeking answers, banish fear with knowledge. What does that have to do with communication? Improve communications. Communicate clearly from the mouth of God, spiritual clarity and wisdom, acquiring the answers needed. That's all true. So there's another one. Let me show you, just to give you an example. This is what a lot of people have done with runes, that they're just, again, they're just superficially making word associations and know nothing about what they're really talking about. I'm not going to touch that one. I'm looking specifically for the Dayaj rune. I pronounce it Dayaj. It's spelled D-A-G-A-Z. It comes from the word for day. I pronounce it Dayaj because in some of the Germanic languages, they sometimes pronounce G and they sometimes don't. That's why in English we say day, and that's why in German they say Tag. Let me see here. Sorry, I'm looking for, there's one in particular because I was looking at it sometime and it was just, it was so ridiculous I had to, here it is, Dayaj. Dagaj, Dayaz. Transformation. That's not what it means. Dayaj is not about transformation. the Yuhuaj rune, the rune that looks like a little, hook. The Yuhuaj rune is about transformation. Dayaj is not about transformation. Key words: polarity, reversal, yin-yang, counterbalance, enlightenment, change. None of that is accurate. This is the rune, by the way. They're getting that by looking at the symbol and making just word associations with the symbol there. That's not what that means. Magical working, reversing energy, balancing forces, bring about change, self-transformation. None of that is accurate. Totally pulling stuff out of their ass with no knowledge of what any of that means. Key phrases: as different as night and day. Dawning of a new day. That's the closest to that they could get because they know that it's called Dayaj. The caterpillar becomes the butterfly. Opposing sides in balance. Again, they're just looking at the symbol, trying to make stuff up as they go. Self-transformation, growth, changing one point of view, switching sides, major life changes. There is nothing in this list of what this rune is supposedly about, except for maybe one word that's even close. Dayaj means day. It is the light of day, and it means the full expression of the soul in the moment, just like the sunlight beaming on you. It means to have fun. It means being in the bliss of the moment. It has nothing to do with as different as night and day. See what I mean? This is why I don't work with the majority of the rune books. I don't even deal with, unless they can show me that they have some ability to look at what the runes are. I'll go so far even to say this, which might even burst. If you've noticed, I very rarely, if ever, quote the rune poems. The reason why is because the rune poems are a very late creation, and they were written when the Proto-Germanic language had gone through a lot of shifts. So even some of the people didn't know what the meanings of the rune words were. And you get completely different if you're looking at, say, Old English rune poems and some of the Scandinavian, you'll get completely different meanings out of the runes, because the language had changed. And so they didn't even know the meaning of the word. It was like, ancient, looking at if you try and read Old English, if you don't know Old English, you have no idea what the hell you're looking at. It's still English, but you have no idea what it is. That's the same thing. So to answer your question, the meanings of the runes came from that. That's how I learned the runes. Then I practiced them. So yeah, I mean, I have nothing against taking knowledge from somebody who knows, and I have read a lot of books about runes, but the meanings I came from looking at language and then my experience with it. So I agree wholeheartedly with what people said. Read my books. If you want to learn my path, read my books. I'll say this, it's going to sound really egotistical, but it's just a helpful thing. When you go to train in martial arts, you don't walk in the door and say, unless you're a mixed martial artist, in which case it's kind of a hodgepodge of everything. But if you walk into like a Bagua, which is a very specific martial art, and you say, oh, hey, yeah, I studied karate for 20 years, so I think I got a lot of this, he's going to say, there's the door, please don't come back. If you walk in and you want to train with a specific teacher, you have to forget everything you think you know. Not because the other stuff doesn't work. The karate, the jiu-jitsu, the boxing, all that stuff works. But if you try and bring that into an art that has a very specific focus, that wants to do very specific things, at best you're going to end up with conflicting information, and you'll be crappy at both of them. So if you want to learn from me, I highly recommend that you forget everything that you know, forget all the other rune books, read my books so you know where I'm coming from. And then you can agree or disagree, but I teach runes from a perspective of you'll be able to feel them in your body. You'll be able to understand why they are what they are. They're not just these oh, there's this symbol like this, and that sort of means this, and you can make that with it, and that, and make sense? That's some of the best way to get knowledge from me. So, all right, that's it for me. Maclovio, there's no such thing as a dumb question. I'm sometimes an asshole, and I'm full of myself, and I have my own opinions. If I come down on somebody's question, it really is because I'm wanting to teach something to a lot of people, and I'm wanting to expose a mindset or a thought process that's not helpful. So my apologies if I made you feel dumb. That is the last thing that I should do. But I am an opinionated asshole sometimes. So that's part of working with a teacher. You have to accept their humanity. So please accept my limitations and my gravest apologies to you, sir, that I did not make you feel. I should have made you feel empowered instead of disempowered. Never should I make you feel dumb for asking a question. It won't be the last time, though. So just get used to it. All right. All right, that's it for me, my friends. I am going to sign off, and I will be back when I'm back. So thanks again. I really appreciate you guys being there and allowing me to dump all this on you. Makes me feel good, and if it helps you in the process, then everybody wins. So talk to you guys next time I see you. Did I say? Oh, I did say 40,000 years. Anyway, I'm done. I've got a lot more to say, but I'll make it. I'll end for now. All right, guys. Talk to you soon.